Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 19th of June, Quad Witching Friday. I don't know if today is really going to be that interesting or not. I mean, normally on a Quad Witching, my observation has been that things are relatively quiet. That people over-exaggerate. It's only like if some big news event happens or something, comes along, upsets the balance, and we get moving, and then it turns into like the most crazy thing that you've ever seen. But there's no really serious. Well, what do we got? We got current account at 6:30. Like that's it. So we don't have like serious news. Most of the macro sentiment stuff overnight is basically just a continuation of what we were seeing yesterday. Then we come over here into the charts to our volume profile. You can see here very much sideways action through most of the week. There is a pretty clear uptrend coming in through here, but there's still some significant resistance up above us at like what will likely be the first volatility target somewhere in here. So at the moment, I don't necessarily see a whole lot of reason for us to move a ton today. Hold on a second. Oh, what's with that? Wow. My OBS is all weird now, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Let's come over into the treasuries. Right, treasuries did take a little bit of a dive. So that's one that I think we should pay attention to. It looks like we're seeing some movement in the curve again. A little bit of steepening, I think. Well, 2s and 10s steepened a little bit. 30-year, not as much. 5-year, also not as much. But I think that the move that we're having here in bonds has more to do with the yield curve than it does anything else. Oil up pretty good yesterday and overnight. So not breaking out yet, but that's where we're at there. Gold recovering again. We're saying, hey, it's, they're kind of towards the bottom of this channel. They're likely to come back up to the other end here. And of course they did. And we'll just take a quick look here on the E-mini daily chart. You can see where we're at, just a bunch of inside days. So again, I think that the game plan for today is going to be small trades, and on the lookout for something crazy to pop up, but not expecting a whole lot. That's kind of what it looks like we've got ahead of us today. So yeah, and what else? Some of my windows are all jacked up. Let's turn on the text to speech, of course. Oh yeah, I also something that we should keep an eye on is the list of stocks for the Russell 3000 is going to be updated today. I had a video about that. I posted yesterday about the Russell, why it's important, why you should keep an eye on it, especially if you're going to trade stocks. So you've decided that where is it? Wow, 76 views. Thank you guys so much. I'm surprised how well it did. You guys are wonderful. And even those comments, even if you just say thanks, that helps the video out so much. So, anyways, where's the, here, we'll just have this open. I believe, I don't know 100% when you get the new list. I don't know if it's at the beginning of the market or at the end. But let's keep an eye on that. When does this rebalancing start, with the New York Open or already going on? So yeah, good question. It's already started. So what happens is they have a list of stocks that are going to be added or removed, and that is a temporary list. So like if they came out and they gave you all of the additions and subtractions in one day, then like that would be a total mess, right? Margo wouldn't be able to handle it. So what they do is they give you a preliminary list, and then the next week they update the list, and then today they're going to update the list, and then next Friday they're going to update the list again. So next Friday you will get the final list. If there are any significant changes in that final list, it's going to affect those stocks a lot. But you're going to be seeing activity through the week, but particularly on the Friday. That Friday itself is usually the day that has like the most activity, because that is the day that like at the end of that day, then the new index takes effect, right? Lots of volatility last hour of the market. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so I did mention it's a quad witching today. I just don't see anything moving us. There's no fundamentals moving us right now, like change in news or sentiment or anything like that. It just looks like the trend is generally up, and so there is a good chance, I think, that volatility is going to underperform compared to people's expectations, because a lot of people, media has really picked up on this options expiration. They're really looking at it. So, I think a lot of people are expecting fireworks, and we're just kind of looking here, and it's like, I don't know if it's going to happen. We should note the treasuries are on their lows here. Mhm. Okay. Yeah, let's make sure we got TweetDeck up. Let's see if our traders said anything interesting over the evening. Why is Futures Trader 71 retweeting somebody about Ninja Trader? I think you could go to Ninja Trader. They are both a platform and a broker. But before you do that, why don't you reach out to Max? In the new term, yes, he was giving them a send off over to the Edge Clear guys. I think I want to move over there. I really think I do. I think I want to save up a little bit more first before I do it. Anthony Crudele, for years I grinded trading out every day, no matter what the environment was, and did well doing it. But eventually I burned out. Trading can get you two ways. You can lose and be forced out, or you can make money and burn out. Find the balance in your life, or the market will force you to find it. That's interesting. He's saying that he would find money in every day, but that it was too exhausting for him. Okay. Well, I do have a little bit of food here that I haven't finished, so let me do that here while we head up and see if the E-mini is gonna go and hit some highs.
Kevin Wimmer says, man, I really should pay more attention to this. But wasn't the Amini rollover last week? What does the quad witching mean for us in the new contract?
Well, so I think again the quad witching, the big thing with the quad witching is that if we do get a move, like say we got these Fed speakers at 10 and 11, say they say something that really moves the markets, right? Then any kind of a move that you end up having could be extremely violent, right? Um, Otherwise, it might just be a really quiet day. Um, as for the rollover, last week was basically when you will get the notification to roll over and when day traders should have moved over. But the actual contract, the actual June contract has not what is the word, settled, right? So people holding it all the way to the end, they're still over there, and that's today. But pretty much all of the volume is moved over. I wouldn't concern myself too much with that. Mm.
Kevin Wimmer says okay, today is the last trading day. Like the crazy shit with minus $40 in oil, which was in the old contract with far less volume.
Yeah, it's exactly that kind of a situation. It's like it's a contract that nobody in their right mind should be trading, but you can still trade it. I've never seen, it's always with the E-mini, it's usually just like we switch over the first day that we can do it and everybody forgets about it. But this time around it's been like every day we've been wondering about it.
Kevin Wimmer says okay, gotcha. I never paid real attention to contract with less volume, lol.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with my OBS. It's just not the same as it was. Hmm. Anyways, the layout is a little different. If we come over here to my daily chart, so like this is a daily chart, and I put volume on it here, and you can notice that there's these days with teeny tiny little bits of volume, like the 11th. What was the 11th? That was the day that we moved over, right? So that's where I think that the rollover really matters. It's hard to trade during the rollover. So to me, it's just like, let's just get it over with, because I can't necessarily trade it. It doesn't affect me necessarily, you know?
Kevin Wimmer says I guess the Nasdaq should be interesting. Compared to the S&P we are close to the all-time high. Maybe a short squeeze incoming. JB says I usually wait for the new contract volume to be more than current at ES volume then roll over. I think this time that happened last Friday plus.
I don't know. I mean, the behavior in the
JB says or minus.
yeah, the behavior in the E-mini compared to the Treasury in terms of rollover is definitely different. In the Treasury, if you start trading it after first call, then you can get called. So nobody trades it after that day. It's just you switch. There's like 3 days, and everybody's moved over, right? But I have taken to just not trading around that time because I have found that the market movements and the reads are just incredibly odd. It's a little different in the E-mini because the E-mini just kind of has this oscillation, that it does. So you can still try and make money off of that. But I just, you know, I think that during that time that it's kind of better to just like relax. So it often comes into a period where everybody wants to do something and nothing ends up happening. I mean, that is definitely
JB
what has
says yeah
happened this
because
week.
OT witching, I am done for the day.
See,
Kevin
it's
Wimmer
just-
says at JB yeah I do it the same way. Expect in oil 1 month ago I switched to the new contract 2 weeks earlier because it already had more volume.
we'll take some trades, but I'm on the experimentation thing still. I have been all this week. Yesterday wasn't so good. I actually did end up catching some good runs, but then I could never take my profits in the right spot. And that's tends to be what starts to happen is you get decreased range. And then, you start to get a little bit of people taking more serious positions in the new contract and then but for this time around for equities it's definitely a thing, but in treasuries, I don't know if they're going to move. The treasuries have definitely came down though. They moved down a good 3 more ticks from what we had.
Kevin Wimmer says experiment? Okay let's go. All in Nasdaq long. Win big or lose big. No other option. No stop. Only tears.
No stop, only tears. So you're saying I should just go in with like 10 contracts and like that? YOLO. It's probably not a very good risk
JB
reward trade
says
right
lol
there, but I
classic.
bet you it actually ends up working. Oh man. Okay, this is really bothering me. When I look at OBS, so you see here, wait. Let me turn off the preview thing. Like my audio mixer part, I can't I don't get it. What's the deal here? How come I can't?
Kevin Wimmer says well wrong market. Nasdaq is the super bullish one lol. Reading comprehension.
Oh, you want me to go into the Nasdaq, huh? You know what? I should just get rid of the scene transition stuff. Maybe that'll fix it up. There, that's better. Because I want to be able to see if I'm like. Sometimes I get too close to the mic. I can actually get too close to it. Which wouldn't be too bad if I didn't have it like so heavily compressed.
Kevin Wimmer says Nasdaq is the craziest market I ever traded. It's like oil times 10. After 2 weeks of pain I decided to never touch it again.
I always, every time that I go into Discord chat and we got new people trading NASDAQ, I just kind of chuckle to myself. Bots always called it the Widowmaker. I always called oil the Widowmaker, but NASDAQ is the true. I think more people have lost accounts on NASDAQ than anything else.
JB says there is a reason they call it the nasty NASDQ.
China shares new evidence blaming European strain for Beijing outbreak. Germany sees concerning spike in COVID-19 cases. Live updates. So I've been noticing today, Zero Hedge, because I haven't been reading it regularly, but they're posting articles that interest me, so I've been reading it more. And they absolutely, people have always said like they're controlled by the Russian government or something like that. They are definitely posting like Chinese propaganda. I don't think that it's like an underhanded thing like, oh, let's we actually are a secret outlet to help the commies or something like that. I think that they think of it more as we're going to post good information from all sources, including from other countries that are enemies to the United
JB
States.
says I got killed in gold so I don't touch it.
Mm.
I need to get better in S before I go to a new market. It's better for my mental state and my account.
Oh yeah, for sure. And going into this kind of, it's related. It's related to what I'm talking about with Zero Hedge, because I really think that one of the things that the biggest things you can do to help yourself in trading futures is to understand the thing that you're trading. And that's where some of these things like oil and gold, like you can absolutely become an expert in oil, but it's not an easy thing, is it? Especially if you never worked in the industry. I think that if I was going to become an oil trader, that my first thing would be like, well, let's go and try and work for an oil company and see what I can learn about it, and learn about how the supply comes in and things that you can use to see where it's going to go and how the politics for that are going to go, because that's what moves it. Like, to understand the trades, you got to understand the context, the backdrop of it, who are the different players and all that sort of stuff. This is the same with the treasuries. I'm discovering it's really difficult to really understand all of the things that I need to understand for the treasuries. It's getting better. Oh, one thing for instance, I should point out is that China injected a pretty decent amount of liquidity overnight through repo operations. I don't know if that's what's moving the treasuries. I think that it's more of a yield curve thing. But like this stuff kind of matters, and these were things that were never on my radar before. And I was like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to have a hard time trading the treasuries when I don't understand that stuff. It's a lot easier to understand what's going on with the ES, but I do I'm pretty up on the politics, and that's a big part of the treasury too. So, but gold, like what are the things in gold?
Kevin Wimmer says the thing about S and so is, you have so many different people trading it. Just one push can get you out, and usually there are more news moving the stock markets compared to oil, for instance.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, and this is another thing that I think about a lot is like, so I'm streaming and I take a position. If there was a big enough trader out there and they wanted to knock me out of a position, they could do it, right? Like right now would be a good time for a whale to come and F me over, because we took a trade that was, I'm joking around, all right? But just think about this situation. If I'm going to take a trade and I'm going to let everybody in the world see it, I better be taking it in a situation where you would have to be stupid to trade against me, right? It really turns into in futures, there's a lot of situations with as small of a stop as we retail traders tend to use. One trader can make you wrong. One trader can make you wrong. And so you really got to think twice about all of that technical analysis that we use. That is that alone really enough to get you into a trade? You really got to reconsider that,
Kevin Wimmer says, but what would he get? I mean, let's say it's live. Only
Yeah.
10 contracts, who would care about that? It would be different if you did a Jeff Goonlock with like 100 times the size.
Well, sure. But maybe if you had enough money, you could do it just for spite, I guess. You'd have to have a lot of money to move the market, though, wouldn't you? Yeah. It probably wouldn't be worth the risk. And let me rephrase, it definitely wouldn't be worth the risk. But I always try and think of it like that. Like, I try and trade like the whole market is watching me. Which means that I have to be able to make trades that the rest of the market just can't compete with. It's kind of an advantage and a disadvantage. You know, maybe it would be better to do it with stocks and just give you guys a list of stocks, and then I could go and get in them first, and then you would all follow after me, and I would be rich.
Kevin Wimmer says, yeah, that's what I am talking about. Maybe if you trade lean hogs with like 10k volume a day and you get in with 10 contracts and they want your juicy stop.
There you go. There you go. Well, you know, in a market like this, if you look at yesterday's action, let's try and go back here. There we go. What am I doing? Yeah. Okay. So on the 1 minute chart, if we really go back yesterday, okay. So we really kind of want more of this sort of a thing. So you see this dotted yellow line. I know it's kind of messy, but you notice how they'll come down to the dotted yellow line, and then they'll come up, go to the dotted yellow line, then they come up. So this is an average true range stop. So even though they had a pretty solid trend, it always came back and did the average true range stop, which is where I've found you will tend to, if you're looking for stops, that's like the spot to go to get the most stops. Like once you go past that point, the number of stops that you get diminishes unless you're going to like completely turn the trend around. That's what it was doing. So there've been deep pullbacks, and if it's clearly slow, and the people that are trying to move it up need the liquidity, so they're absolutely going to go down for your stop. They're probably not going to look at mine, but they're probably going to look at that ATR. And you know, where is it right now? 31.33. Oh, I guess we're a little further out. I really, just based on the amount of volatility that we're having right now, doesn't look. It's a very inactive market, isn't it? Brett Steenbarger, a great example of how tape reading skills have been helpful in trading stocks in play. What? He shows us a profitable stock trade.
In this video, learn how to make an easy, quick,
He's
and
doing that stuff now. So he's interviewing a guy, showing a small little portion of a window. Whatever. Michelle Caruso Cabrera fumes after AOC kicks out media from her only in-person debate. What? So they did a debate, but they kicked the media out. Wait, let's read this. After finally being goaded to participate, In the in-person Park Chester Times debate on Wednesday, New York 14's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez showed up to the debate opponent Michelle Caruso Cabrera. Oh, is that who's running against?
Vincenzo
She's running
C says
against her.
TGIF. Thumbs up.
Isn't she from CNBC or something? Anyways, but she wouldn't take the stage and allow the event to start with the media or audience members in the room, according to the publication that hosted the event. AOC reportedly demanded reporters leave the room before she took the stage to debate Michelle Caruso Cabrera, according to the Park Chester Times, who labeled her a bully in their coverage of the event. The lack of media attention set off her opponent, MCC, who put out a press release Wednesday night that read, "Tonight, the Park Chester Times debates in behavior more appropriate for a temperamental princess than an elected member of Congress." Oh, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez demanded that reporters and audience members leave the room before she took the stage. She left the residents of the 14th district with a malfunctioning Facebook feed that could scarcely be heard. So did she refuse to do that because of social distancing? That is weird.
Uzi Knesset says AOC is a paper tiger. Social media puppet. Worthless.
If she had to put herself up in a real intellectual debate, she would probably fall apart.
Kevin Wimmer says she is kinda hot though lol.
I don't get it. But maybe that's because all of the pictures that I see of her make her look crazy. Come on, they're trying to make her look crazy. No, I don't like that. And we're making a good little test of the high, and they got kicked down again.
Uzi Knesset says she does have nice cans. We have to give her that lol.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even like. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it alone. Man, they gonna like this is a bad trade. Flat.
Vincenzo C says MCC is built. Uzi Knesset says oh come on, Seth. We're married, not dead tongue out.
We're married, not dead. I haven't seen any pictures of her that you really allow you to see that sort of thing. It's always just a picture of her angry face. No. You know, so we're gonna talk about like famous politically people. You know who I always liked was Erin Burnett. She is so smart. Like, listen, that girl is
Kevin
smart.
Wimmer says I mean compared to the otherest female politicans I know about. I mean Hillary lol, Ilhan Omar lol, Nancy Pelosi double lol.
Sunday Driver says who is MCC?
Uzi
Michelle
Knesset
Caruso
says the infamous
Cabrera.
dancing video gif of her, perfect view, shirt too small. Lots of bounce.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Sunday
man.
Driver says MCC is a dog.
It's a dog. Yeah, it's politicians. You remember Michelle Bachmann, right? Because a lot of people said that they thought she was good looking, which
Air
she's
Cages
old.
says
Man.
Seth is a
Holy
sexist
cow.
feminist.
No. She was old. I never got that one, but she was just crazy. I remember that year she was running for president, and they were going through everybody, right? They were giving everybody the chance. And then when it was basically like Michelle Bachmann's chance, they were like, no. We're not actually doing this, guys. And that one died real quick. And then it was Ron Paul, where they had that one event where Ron Paul actually looked like he was actually a real contender for president, and he's all like,
Sunday Driver says AOC is cute, but her politics and brainpower are both duds.
Vincenzo C says no, her opponent Michelle Caruso Cabrera is the built one. I saw her in a bikini and good God in a handbasket.
I bet she looks fit. Man, this is what the market has reduced us to is talking about how whether Michelle Caruso Cabrera or Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is better
Air
looking.
Cages says, what are your thoughts on the Hex scam?
I remember people talking about Hex earlier. Oh man, where did Anthony was into Hex. Has it been revealed as a scam? There been some news on that I'm not aware of? Reddit.com/r/cryptocurrency. Let's look over there.
Air Cages says, I keep seeing it on your top news column.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because there was a donation. If you want it to go away, then you can make a donation and then they will show up. Actually, I probably should come into where is it? News. See, it gets added on here. Yeah, I'm gonna leave them. I'm gonna leave them until we get like 5.
Air Cages says, buy the Bitcoin scam. Only room for one scam on this channel.
Okay, they're selling it again. Some pretty hard resistance up there, apparently. Although that one kind of looked more like it fizzled out than it was that they just were rejected.
Air Cages says, when garlic full moon.
When, who knows? Maybe this weekend.
Kevin Wimmer says, why lose your money in Bitcoin when you can lose it in Garlicoin?
President Trump's bad week just
Winston's
hold
mom
on.
says, person facepalming quad witching. Trading futures livestream, the 19th of June 2020 lol 18 watching and 1 giggling just a bit. Happy pre-Father's Day weekend, gentlemen.
Oh, that's right. It's Father's Day
Air
weekend.
Cages says exactly.
I should buy myself something. What should I buy myself? I should buy myself an expensive stereo. Yes, that would be great. I think that's the only thing I can think of right now off the top of my head that I would really, really like. And even that, I don't really care. No.
Kevin Wimmer says, lol Father's Day in Germany was like a month ago.
Oh, really? Some different days.
Uzi Knesset says, don't buy anything, put a few extra grand in your trading account lol.
Well, I've been saving it up.
Air Cages says, did you hear about the Robin Hood trader who killed himself after losing $700,000
Didn't you
trading
ask
options?
me about that yet? Didn't you ask me about that yesterday? You got like 5 people asked me about it yesterday. Like what can I even say about that? I wish I had something like great and amazing and entertaining to say
Air
about.
Cages says nope.
No.
Uzi Knesset says at Air Cages, yeah, a friend of mine messaged me about it yesterday.
Do we? It's the hot
Kevin
thing.
Wimmer says Jeffrey Goonlock trades on Robin Hood. Air Cages says, I just read about it.
You haven't heard much from Jeffrey, have we? Let's see what his last tweet was. His last tweet was on the 15th. The Democrats have no leader. Republicans have no leader. Antifa has no leader. Black Lives has no leader. That was his last tweet. I'm getting clicks.
Sunday Driver says, a woman I used to work with had her father kill himself after the .com crash.
Oh, wow, really? I mean, I've seen this before. So my first experience with trading, kind of, we're going to call it an experience, was with the .com crash. So I was in high school and I was basically volunteering, helping with a cyber cafe that was downtown, because it was like a place where we could have LAN parties every weekend, and that was really awesome. And so I wanted a place like that to be successful. So I was working for them essentially, and it was downtown, so you get interesting people come in. One time I met this guy. He said that he had a public access TV show in San Francisco, and his partner tried to poison him, and he had temporary memory loss. And so he would come in every few days, and it was like he had never been there before, and it was incredibly odd. And maybe he was faking it, but if he was faking it, he was really good at it, because it was like this guy had no temporary memory. Anyways, but there was another guy that would come in a lot, and the reason that he was interested in it was that he was doing day trading, and he had been a part of a cyber cafe, or sorry, what do they call this? An arcade, where basically, you would pay for a computer and all of this stuff for you to be able to day trade stocks. Back when it was really hard to get a good internet connection and the hardware and everything to do that sort of a thing. And this guy told me that he lost $2 million in a day and blew his account after the 9/11.com crash. I've seen this before. When people start talking about the market the way that they have,
Uzi Knesset says
doesn't end well.
FAAAWK.
Doesn't end well. Because, like I said, the reason that this happens, part of the reason that this is able to work is because people are able to get away with incredibly simple strategies that completely disregard the amount of risk that they're putting on. And so they make more and more and more and more
Air
until
Cages
they
says
just
my
blow up.
question is, how do you get $700,000 in the hole with Robinhood? Freaking Robinhood.
Because they don't have very good controls with their options. Their risk controls department sucks. As far as I can tell, they are not actually accurately marking out how much risk they're
Sunday
taking.
Driver says what sucks is that even though they lose that money, depending on how and when they trade, they could still owe a massive tax bill to the IRS.
Oh, wow, yeah. Well, this guy, he didn't. The thing that gets really tough about this kind of a situation is that especially if it's been going on for a long time, you get a lot of people that don't know anything else. Like people that they started doing it in high school, and then they're just like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing it. And they don't go to school. And then when the market blows up and they realize that they can't make money anymore from it, they have no skills other than trading. And they don't have enough capital to trade. Yeah. There's a reason market crashes happen, folks. Don't disregard the risk. This was one that bothered me that I saw on the subreddit the other day.
Air Cages says that dude was 20 years old.
Somebody was saying, shouldn't you, if you're scalping, do you really need a stop? Because, you can always just get out. And I'm like, no. You do not want to be chasing something when it just moved 20 handles on you. You don't. Like, here's the take that I would take on it. If you cannot step away from the computer for 20 minutes and let the market do its thing without you touching it, and not be 100% comfortable with the worst thing that ends up happening, then you're doing something wrong. You're taking on too much risk. Should always have an emergency stop. Because what if your internet goes out? That's been happening to people. Like, what if your internet goes out and you're stuck in that position?
Uzi
Right? You have to
Knesset
call your
says
broker.
good way to put it.
You have to call your broker, and how long does that take? 10, 20 minutes, right? So if you can't let the market go for 20 minutes with the way that it's set up right at that moment, then you're doing something wrong. Freaking Robinhood. But one of the ways that they do this with Robinhood is by selling options. Selling options and not being covered is not so smart.
Kevin Wimmer says the thing is some people use mental stops, like those Axia guys, because they may plan a puke. I tried that, but didn't work for me. I rather get stopped out and make a re-entry if I see something.
Well, yeah, so if you want to do it that way, then what I would do is I would have a stop that's just much further away than what you're actually planning on taking as your risk, right? So, but you kind of have to do the math out on that one, right? Because that's the stop that's going to hit if like you're in a position and then some unexpected news event comes along, right? For the Axia guys, when they're trading in news, it's a little bit different, but
Air Cages says emergency stop is the only stop you should use.
yeah. I mean, I'm still okay with putting a stop out there, but you gotta, if you're gonna have it close, then you better have a really good probability of it going up for you. Hmm.
Kevin Wimmer says emergency stop equals money on account lol.
It looks good to me right there, but I'm afraid to do it now. Well,
Winston's mom says we have our second Mercury retrograde of the year from June 18th to July 12th. This year Mercury is retrograding through the water signs. Water signs rule heightened emotions, also heightened intuition.
it's not long before we're to the solstice, right?
Air Cages says what?
They're always posting astrology stuff for us. So what's with this story here from CNN? Donald Trump's presidency is
Kevin
in
Wimmer says
turmoil.
this daily high in the S shouldn't hold. I expect juicy puke.
Oh, they changed the title. They changed the
Air
title
Cages
on us.
says what does this mean for my trading?
The title was that he could still win re-election, but they got rid
JB
of that
says
part.
I like Winston's mom.
Sunday Driver says I dated a woman who was into astrology. She drove me crazy. For reasons I couldn't fathom, I couldn't make important decisions because of the fucking moon. Fuck.
Oh, I shouldn't even read this. This just says stuff that like I'm immediately triggered. He is in denial yet again over a pandemic. He initially ignored that has killed nearly 120,000 Americans. And it's like, yeah, 120,000 Americans that were going to die one way or the other, no matter what he did. Oh, it makes me so mad. The way that people, when disasters come, the guy that's in charge always takes the hit, no matter what, even if they did a good job. They did the best. Like imagine Donald Trump prevented us from having 2 million people killed. Isn't that like a great achievement? But it's not. 100,000 people died.
Winston's mom says Neptune rules Pisces N represents our deep inner world spirituality, goes retrograde on June 23rd, retrograde until December. We expect philosophies, bigger picture ideas to be reevaluated, rearranged.
Well, they seem to want to bust this. I don't know if they're going to do it this time, though. They might, there's this stuff up to, where is
Air
it?
Cages says so short or long.
Well, I think that we're much more likely to move up.
Winston's mom says JB cool thanks.
See, here's the, why did it do that? They might hit up into it again.
JB
but
says
they
it's
might
the
fall down.
inconsistencies that drive me crazy. Like it seems to be wrong for Trump to hold a rally, but anyone else holding a
yeah.
rally should be praised.
Oh yeah. Or like all of these protesters, that's okay. Makes no sense at all. The way that the media plays. I mean, everybody realizes that, right? I don't think that there's anybody paying attention that, they all see on the news. They're all thinking that. That's the thing that's so weird about that whole issue is that they even do it in the first place. Like, what? How that, it's just crazy.
Sunday
Nobody.
Driver says I do think Corona-chan is real. These protesters are going to be coming down sick.
Oh, they're
In fact, I
100%.
think they already are. Many
100%.
states are seeing huge spikes in new Corona-chan cases.
Yep. Many states are seeing huge spikes. There's totally going to be some. But here's the thing. Oh, hold on. Let's see what JB says.
JB says only folks that think for themselves. But so many don't think for themselves, or we would not have some of the issues we have today.
So something happened in the data and in the science that changes the calculus considerably, and the media has basically pretended like it never happened because they don't want to admit that this was all for nothing. But the death rate ended up being significantly lower than we thought, and the death rate in young and regular people was significantly lower than we thought. And so the probability of the American healthcare system being overwhelmed, especially after flattening the curve and taking all these precautionary measures and things like that, are basic. It's basically a non-issue now. That's why all of the states are seeing huge spikes in cases and they don't care. It's because they know that the only thing that they really have to be worried about is cases going through
Winston's
nursing
mom
homes.
says I sure hope the protesters, rioters in D.C. don't do anything to the IRS building at 1111 Constitution Avenue. NW, Washington District of Columbia, 20224.
Oh, you guys. Anyways, that's why everybody's acting the way that they are. To me, it's crazy that they continue to pretend that holding a rally would be such an awful thing, because people are going to catch it and it's okay now. Just don't let old people catch it. Don't do what they did in New York and kill off all of your old people. Another thing that's interesting is that we went to the protests, and then the protests thing is dying down, so now it's back to coronavirus cases again. So now it's so blatantly obvious how the media really just flips around between things to try and get the most people watching, right?
Uzi Knesset says you know how Florida is seeing spike in cases, right? All the new cases in my county were between 20 to 30 years old. Wonder what people that age have been up to these last few weeks, lol.
Yeah. No, it's totally... Yeah.
Sunday Driver says that shows you how biased the media is. If Trump did what Cuomo and de Blasio did, they'd be accusing him of murder.
Oh, totally. Well, the interesting thing is I don't know if those guys can
RJ
get
Real
reelected.
says it's not news, it's narrative.
Do you think those guys can get reelected? Because even as kind as the media has been to them, I think that the residents are starting to be like, especially the mayor. Man, I just can't fathom how
Uzi
anybody
Knesset says at Sunday Driver Trump didn't do what Cuomo and de Blasio did and they still are accusing him of murder, lol.
Right. There it goes. That's more like it. Man. Oh. Wait, what the heck? Oh, I know why. Okay. It's cool. Actually want to take it here. So let's see what Donald Trump says. The Supreme Court asked us to resubmit on DACA. Nothing was lost or won. They punted, much like in a football game where hopefully they would stand for our great American flag. We will be submitting enhanced papers shortly in order to properly fulfill the Supreme Court's ruling and request of yesterday. I have wanted to take care of DACA recipients better than the do-nothing Democrats, but for 2 years they refused to negotiate. They have abandoned DACA based on the decision the Dems can't make DACA citizens. They gained nothing. Because people were saying that he wasn't going to do anything. But in the end, they are. Well, that was a pretty solid break of the highs, and it's still quiet. I don't know. I think they're going to want to go up to like 3150. That would be a pretty comfortable place for all of the gamma to expire.
Sunday Driver says President has power to deport. He should just deport all DACA illegal aliens.
Well, I don't think he wants to do that. Cool. Oh, whoops. I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I want to take, but I only took one contract off.
Winston's mom says 212,345 watching now. Started streaming 55 minutes ago. 50 share save. Please take a quick second to hit like. Thanks. Just played with the numbers to see if speculator Seth is paying attention.
I'm not paying attention. I don't pay.
Uzi Knesset says Trump needs to reverse the establishment and do everything he can to give a path to citizenship for DACA recipients. Then, when the left fights him on it, the real enemy is revealed.
I've always kind of wondered why you 21, 23, 45, of course not. But I've always wondered why you list out how many people are watching. I don't know. We've talked about, it's been such a long time since we've talked on immigration, but my working theory is that because everybody says that Donald Trump is like racist against Mexicans and things like that. I don't think that that's the case. I think that he would very much like all of the people that are here to become U.S. citizens. He is just playing it hawkish because he knows that in order to how do you say if you come in and say that you're going to be nice, then you'll just start getting way more people coming over. And so what he's doing is he's acting hawkish, trying to get the thing solved, and then after the thing is solved, then he'll strike a softer tone and let all those people become citizens. That's why they have to get rid of, for instance, the family-based immigration system and have one that's what is the word? What is the word that they use? Well, anyways, I really think that that's what's going on there with that. But of course, that has ended up is like
Uzi
a way
Knesset says merit-based.
Merit-based. There you go. It's not even at the forefront of anybody's mind anymore. I actually think that some of the stuff that's going on in India and China, and just like when I was reading Zero Hedge and seeing what they were posting, because from the Chinese Russian propaganda kind of stuff, it was definitely there. I think that China thinks that the president is preoccupied now, and that they are.
Sunday Driver says we don't need any immigrants. The ones here now we don't need. We don't need visa entrants either.
They're trying to take
Winston's
advantage of
mom
him
says
being
I copy
distracted.
and paste the title because my keyboard is wonky, but I have noticed more likes when I post numbers.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Well, we got more likes right there. 6 likes. Thank you guys very much. We've been slacking a little bit on the likes. So when you guys like it, we get way more people watching. But it's summer. It was really interesting how before the summer we were getting like up to 50 viewers sometimes, and then as soon as the summer trading started again, it just completely disappeared. Was like we hit some threshold and the YouTube algorithm wasn't recommending it anymore. Kind of sad, but okay. I think I want to just leave one on because I think there should be a push on the open. You see, I have no balls. Even on Sim, it's like, I could have just let all 10 contracts right all the way up to there, right? And have like $300 now. But no. Anyways, I think that China thinks that the president is distracted. But I'm concerned that what's going to happen is that some of this foreign policy stuff is going to blow up going into the election, and then that becomes more of a key driver of the election. I don't know if that favors Donald Trump or not, but Joe Biden may seem an unlikely favorite of private equity firms and hedge fund managers, but he is, says Bloomberg. Let's read that. Oh, I've reached my free article limit. I can. Oh, wait. If I get a digital subscription. Wait. What are my subscription options? Digital. Wait, how come when I come over here? When I'm over here, it says it's $1.99 a month. Okay, $2 a month. That sounds reasonable, right? Oh, whoops. It's $10 a month. Or you can do it for $10 a month. Let's see here. Business Week mobile app, live events, all digital access plus, weekly print magazine, Business Week mobile app, monthly subscriber only conference calls. Ooh, I want to be in subscriber only conference calls. $40 a month. I don't know. That's a 3-month introductory offer, which means that you only get it for 3 months, huh? And then it probably becomes $34 a month again.
Sunday Driver says I would never give Bloomberg a penny of my money.
I know, right? Hey, that's a good move right there. But why is it $2? I mean, for $2 maybe. Nah, probably not. I just don't like him. Fox News is out with another of their phony polls done by the same group of haters that got it even more wrong in 2016. Watch what happens in November. Fox is terrible, says Donald Trump. Oh, there's so much on the polling. I tell you what, the polling really bothers me because Donald Trump probably is behind, given that it's like a double-digit lead now for Biden. But I do not think that the pollsters are being honest with us. So there's some volatility here ahead of the open now. That's interesting. I think they're going to buy it, though. Mayor calls protesters terrorists after her home is vandalized with Black Lives Matters graffiti. Which mayor? Mayor of Olympia, Washington. Yeah, okay.
Gary Rich says it's worth the monthly fee, regardless of what you think of Bloomberg the man.
Which one?
Kevin Wimmer says 30 points to ATH in the NASDAQ.
Here's the question. If I was going to spend...
Sunday Driver says turnout will matter a lot. I think voting in person is going to be a mess. This should help Trump since Republicans tend to vote no matter what.
Well, we'll do two, okay? If I could spend less than $10 a month and I could spend less than $50 a month, but you could only do one, which one would you subscribe to? Because there's like Bloomberg, but there's also the Financial Times. There's tons. Okay, there's the open. Well, there was a pretty clear buy on open there, but numbers wise, it actually wasn't a ton. Okay. How is it that they come down to my spot, to the tick? Well, now they busted through it, but why there? There was nothing special about that spot. It was random that I got in there. Must not actually mean anything. Anyways, if you were going to pay for a subscription for news for trading, which one would it be? Would it be Bloomberg? Or do you think that there's another outlet that you think would be worth more?
Sunday Driver says Tesla over 1,000.
Is it now? Okay, well, there's a pretty decent amount of selling on the open. They're mostly canceling out the buying that was happening. Sorry about that. OBS died.
Gary
there.
Rich says Bloomberg.
Gary Rich says that it would be Bloomberg, huh? I don't understand. Magazine. See this, it's $35 or $40. But where do you get the $10 one? That's the one that I don't understand.
Sunday Driver says I think I'll put in a buy order for Tesla at $10 a share. When that one crashes, it is going to crash hard.
$10 a share, yeah, right. I would go in and just, do the numbers on it and determine what it's worth and put your order in for that.
Gary Rich says you can go Dow Jones Newswire, Reuters or Financial Times. Pick your tier of news.
I got you. But when you get those, I feel like that what you get for the subscription isn't really...
Sunday Driver says sounds like Kamala Harris will be VP pick.
You think so? Sounds like she's winning. I think there's some risks with Kamala Harris, but I mean that one's kind of interesting because part of the reason why Kamala Harris fell out of favor was because of her past behavior as a DA. So that's kind of a risk. She's probably the best. She's probably the most well known. There was that other girl, that Valerie Jarrett or whoever it was. She sounded like a really solid pick, but she's not. She doesn't have the name recognition, and I feel like the name recognition is just so valuable in today's politics that you
RJ
can't
Wheels
ignore
says
it.
she brings a state already locked in. Demings can help get Florida.
Yeah, Demings. That's what her name is. Demings. I need to go and run. I think I'll make a video. You know, I made that channel for politics, and I haven't really posted anything on it. I think I should post one because
Sunday Driver says this will be fine. Kamala must have a million skeletons in her closet.
yeah. Well, Biden has some real vulnerabilities on race. I really do think that you want to pick that helps shore up your vulnerabilities on race. I don't know if Kamala Harris does it or not. Maybe it does. I mean, the media will obviously play cover for you, so maybe you get away with it. See, why is it telling me a digital subscription is $199 a month, but then over here there's a $10 a month? And then
RJ Wheels says Susan Rice brings a Cheney-like quality to the ticket.
it's the same one. I guess it's just giving me an even better offer. $2 instead of 10, but it's still going to be
Sunday
$34
Driver
a
says,
month
could you
after
imagine a
that.
President Kamala Harris? She'd easily push the country into civil war. So easy to hate her if you're a right-winger.
Man, Sunday Driver always goes the furthest right that you can on anything. I don't know if she would push the country into civil war, but you know. she's not well liked for sure.
Gary Rich says Dems love to virtue signal to victimhood and play people like harps.
Well, you know what? Democrats aren't the only
Kevin
ones that
Wimmer
like
says
to
I
virtue
want
signal.
President Hilton. Just for the lulz.
She should pick Bloomberg as her vice president. Come on. Come on. Hey guys, remember when Michael Bloomberg was a leading Democrat presidential candidate? Good times. That was good times, guys. Okay, good iceberg here at 31, 38, 25. See, now let's go to the Dow Jones Newswire. Doom, 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 doom. DowJones.com. Powering the professional world. You get nothing on their front page. Nothing. Well, if you want to log in, it gives you nothing. Products. Well, it seems like off of the open here so far that there is some significant risk off sentiment. The treasuries did come off of their lows quite significantly. We should have taken that trade. That would have been a great trade. I think that's about as much as I'm willing to risk at the moment. So I want to let that play out. Newswires. You have to contact them. Hate that shit.
Uzi Knesset says I want President Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I just want a newswire service. Maybe I don't. A newswire service that is marketed towards retail traders. That would be nice. Would it? Maybe not. Maybe you don't want because you want a professional one. Anyways, it's just kind of maybe that's CNBC. You can do CNBC Pro. I don't think that that's worth too much either. You know, I want those articles with like the kind of the charts that the Marketeer posts. Like, hey, look, here's this trade that is like a basket of coronavirus favorites. And it moved down today. Like, I just want a news site with articles like that, like more articles than I could ever read. So if I'm ever bored, that's really what I want. Sometimes I just want to read more news. I should probably read more books at that point, but whatever. Okay, so there was some clicking there. Some clicking at 3138.50. And a bubble. Donald Trump retweeting himself that there was a 96% approval rating in the Republican Party. Yeah, because everybody, I don't know. I think that what the polls are showing on that one is that
Gary Rich says at UZI, this is for you.
Anybody that doesn't like him basically left the party. Calls themselves an independent now. Oh, I did not catch this tweet. Any protesters, anarchists, agitators, looters, or lowlives who are going to Oklahoma, please understand, you will not be treated like you have been in New York, Seattle, or Minneapolis. It will be a much different scene. Ooh.
RJ Wheel says it's all the Warhawks.
Okay, they're selling. Looks like they're gonna bust the pivot low. There wasn't a lot of stop orders on that though. FX macro. Oh, FX macro. The week after June triple witching days has experienced Dow Jones losses in 26 of the last 30 years, with an average decline of 1.07%. So we usually move down on the Monday, huh? 26 out of 30 times. That's pretty good stats. Well, I'm getting lots of pivots in here. The E-mini is doing something right now that I never conceived. Like, it's pivoted 3 times. Since the open already. Like
Sunday
down,
Driver says I
up,
read that the best
down,
way to get
up,
immunity
down.
from corona is to get a shot of it inside your ass. Receptors are low and will take a while to spread in your body. Immune response will have time to respond.
Did you see that study that was saying that the immunity might not last more than 3 months? That's a little concerning, isn't it? So we'll continue to get mutated waves come through, and people won't be immune to it. Uh, so that could be something until, well, I guess you'll get a vaccine, but to be, seems like a real problem, don't you think?
Uzi Knesset says so like, what's the end game here? Are we dealing with something that can never be cured and we can never be vaccinated against?
Well, it might be different if the
RJ Wheel says
antibodies are
make
from the
sure you put a
vaccine.
lime in too.
Might be different if you get that immunity from a vaccine, but it means that you could catch it this year and then still catch it next year.
Sunday Driver says some are saying that it was engineered to kill. It seems to be able to remodulate and use different attack vectors.
I think the theory that it was an experiment of some sort it becomes more and more credible as time goes on.
Gary Rich says the vaccine won't be here till next year. Oh well.
Well, we got to keep it up
Uzi
so
Knesset
that
says
those
I'm just
companies can
curious
make
because if
money
that's the
on it.
case, let's just suck it the fuck up, build a few thousand new hospitals, expand healthcare, and get on without damn lives.
All right. I'm really surprised that there are still some areas of the country that have severe restrictions. I don't think that there's anywhere where all businesses are closed, are there? There's just like the businesses that are open have like strict rules. Okay. Down. There's a pivot there. They
RJ
bounce on
Wheels
that
says
one.
NBA and NHL can use Tulsa to play their games.
Tulsa is an interesting place. Did you hear though that in Tulsa they implemented a curfew last night and told all the people that were waiting in line to go home?
Sunday Driver says I've heard that we just about can't create a vaccine for coronaviruses. We'll have to attack this by way of suppressing the virus with different serums, medicines, etc.
No. They had a vaccine trial that was quite encouraging. And then oh yeah, and then it came out that the news wasn't that good, and we all forgot about it. Oh.
RJ Wheels says Britain.
But then somebody else came out with another trial, I think. Donald Trump, the silent majority is stronger than ever before. You say so. And I was watching a documentary. It was made in 2016 by a British company. And so it was British people talking about how to win American elections. And it was before Donald Trump became president. And they were talking about the silent majority. They're saying, you know, what happens where people say that they're going to vote for
Sunday
somebody and
Driver
then they
says they
vote for
come out
somebody
with a
else.
vaccine and then Corona Chan switches things up and keeps on going.
It was almost they called almost exactly what could happen. Mm-mm. Terry McAuliffe recorded saying Dems prefer Biden stay in the basement. And Donald Trump retweeted it. Oh my gosh. Did you see his tweets last night too?
Uzi Knesset says I mean, seriously, what's the downside to expanding medical care in the country? We have a virus that, in terms of treatment and spread, is a cold that can kill you. Can't cure it. Can't vaccinate it.
Well, I think that we're capable of handling it right now. Just don't go to the
Uzi
old folks'
Knesset
home.
says okay, so, expand healthcare capacity to deal with it.
I really, when you look at like in Italy, for instance, where it was such a bad deal, the reason that it ended up being so bad was because people said, "Oh, I can still visit grandma," and then all the old people died. That's why they have so many regrets over there. Just don't let it into the nursing home. Hmm. An okay turn here so far.
Gary Rich says the Brits can suck our red, white, blue and choke on the 50 stars. We left Britain for a reason, not to listen to their BS studies.
Right.
Uzi
Well, it
Knesset
was-
says I think the economic impact from life as usual and expanding the healthcare industry would be significantly better than, well, shutting the planet down lol.
The thing that was funny about it was that the documentary, they basically were like, Donald Trump's not going to win. But then they called exactly how he would win if he did. That was what was so funny. It's on Netflix. It's how to win an American presidency or something like that. I think I was a tick or two off on that one, but
Sunday Driver says what concerns me is that everyone is saying, oh it's just old people. Then, we act like it's nothing. Then Corona-chan changes its structure and expands its ability to get people sick.
I think it's a little bit of a different issue from that Sunday, because the reason that it ends up being so
Sunday
deadly,
Driver says then, it's too late. Could become a slate wiper that wipes out everybody.
the reason that coronavirus makes people so sick is because your immune system overreacts, essentially, right? This is a real like a really key thing to keep in mind. Like when you die from the bubonic plague, for instance, okay, it's because that virus takes over and it kills you, right? Some of these other viruses, they just straight up kill you. But coronavirus in particular, the reason it's so deadly is because your body overreacts, gets inflamed, and you inflames your lungs so you can't breathe, and that's how it kills you. Okay, so in order to become more deadly, it would have to trigger more people, and I think that it's a case that there's just people that are prone to that kind of an immune system or overreaction, and that there's not a whole lot that the virus can do to increase the array of people that react that way. So I don't think that it can mutate quite like that. But there could be other things that could happen, like the kind of mutations that you could see that could be a problem could be like it mutates into a gastrointestinal tract disease. Okay, that's when it could become. It would be that now if it was a gastrointestinal tract disease, right? That's kind of a different issue, but it's still very problematic, right? Former cop Val Demings faces progressive pushback in Veep stakes because she's a cop, I guess.
Sunday Driver says there are some worrying things. It's weird for a virus to attack red blood cells, but Corona-chan does.
Uzi Knesset says Val Demings is a piece of shit.
You don't like her, huh? She seemed like a good pick, but
Sunday Driver says what's funny is that no matter who Biden picks, the woke left will find a reason to hate the person.
that might be it.
RJ Wheel says lol. Gary
Unless
Rich
it's
says
Elizabeth
in the Navy
Warren.
we did some weird experiments. I'm amazed how fast COVID spread. The MOA is what I try to understand.
Or Bernie Sanders. This is the funniest thing, is that Bernie Sanders isn't even on the list. Can you imagine putting up a fight like Bernie Sanders did, and then you're not even on the VP list? Oh man. And he just endorses them just like a man. Bernie, I understand why Bernie Sanders supporters are out there rioting, okay? How much more embarrassing can it get?
Uzi Knesset says they're both garbage. Uzi Knesset says Val Demings' husband is mayor of Orange County.
Oh. So you know her. Okay. As volatile as
Sunday
it
Driver says who is
was,
Val Demings?
she's a a black woman that is on the short list for becoming VP. But apparently some people really don't like her.
Uzi Knesset says Orange County, great place, a junkie at every intersection. Gary Rich says all California politicians are pos.
Oh, wait,
RJ Wheels
she's in
says black
Florida,
Congress
right?
rep.
We're talking Orange County, Florida. There's an Orange County, Florida, and an Orange County, California, right? Am I wrong?
RJ Wheels says Orlando.
Yeah.
Uzi Knesset says Orange County, Florida.
See, I know.
Uzi
my
Knesset
thing.
says yes.
There you go. Well, that's the end of that
Uzi
trade.
Knesset says I go from my county red and into orange blue and the difference is nothing short of astonishing.
Sunday Driver says I visited Orange County in California about 20 years ago. It was still nice. Now, I understand that it's total crap.
Even in Utah, in Salt Lake City, the
Gary Rich
city
says oh sorry.
council,
Restatement all politicians are pos, it's a matter of time.
the police department, the city council voted to reduce funding for the police department.
Uzi Knesset says junkies make their way into our county to mooch on our intersections and the sheriff scoops them up within 24 hours.
I wonder if they'll try and do that at the county level. If they try and do that at the county level in Salt Lake County, because there's like a unified police department there, people are going to have a huge fit. Because there was this whole thing about, oh, you should stay with the county and not become your own cities because the unified police department is better and everything. And then if they come in and defund it without the people really being able to have a say, then that is the end of Salt Lake County. Those are, especially Magna. If I was Magna, I would be so pissed. Oh man, I haven't heard anything about that though, so but I should keep an eye on that. Well, I liked that last trade, but it just fell apart. I should have moved my stop up. That was a lucky fill.
Uzi Knesset says I avoid downtown Orlando at all costs. Had to pick up wife and her friend from a concert last year. The amount of people sleeping on the sidewalks is insane.
Really? Well, there's even some spots in Salt Lake that if you go, there's just like homeless people sleeping on the sidewalk. It was really quite startling. There was like
Gary Rich says California has great weather but not worth tripping over a junkie or tent cities.
that one worked really well. Like in Utah, there's really no. There's so much assistance that if you're perpetually homeless, you've got issues, right? And it was just surprising to me how many people in Utah actually have those kinds of issues, and this is quite sad. But there's a street downtown that, especially in the summer, you go over there, it's basically just homeless people and druggies. And they live like one big family, kind of. Yeah.
Sunday Driver says I think Malibu gives free money to homeless.
Uzi Knesset says and of course, since it's all blue, the most neglected portion of the population is non-white.
In Utah, they're trying to break it up because there was only like one homeless shelter, and that was causing an area with the business because it was close to relatively close to some businesses and to the mall. You'd get people in the strip mall, so people didn't want to go to the strip mall because the homeless people would come in there. So they decided to break it up. So they're gonna get rid of that, and they're building a bunch of homeless shelters elsewhere throughout the valley and splitting it up into like 4 to 6 different places. And so one of the places that they were going to put it was going to be in Sugar House. Sugar House is where all of the rich liberals live in Utah. Sugar House. And when they decided they were going to put a homeless shelter in Sugar House, they threw the biggest fit I have ever seen. They were so upset. So, we're not safe anymore. I was like, oh, okay. So you want it's okay for everybody else, but not for the rich liberals, huh? It was the most disgusting rank hypocrisy I've ever seen in politics. And I knew a guy that he owned a business where that homeless shelter was going to go, and he basically lost his business because of that homeless shelter, and then they didn't build it. Oh man, sucks for him, right? I think he needed to move on to other things, anyways. But I digress. I think he's okay with it. Well, that sell was pretty good.
Gary Rich says it's real nice when rich liberals champion the cause, but not in their neighborhood.
Right.
What a joke.
What a joke. Especially here in Utah, where everybody, like, it's really is like everybody except for like Sugar House and Salt Lake is hardcore Republican. And it's just those two areas that are
Uzi
controlled by
Knesset
Democrats.
says that's the way it is in Orlando and Winter Park.
But basically because
Sunday
they control
Driver says
such
people
an
who aren't
important
around it
area.
have no clue as to how disruptive homeless people are. At
Hmm.
first I was sorry for them. Then, I grew to really dislike them. They are very aggressive about asking for money.
Yeah, they are. But anyways, because they control important part of the valley downtown, right? It's like everybody has to deal with their decisions. So everybody in Utah is constantly frustrated by the stuff that's going on in downtown Salt Lake. There are some real problems down there too. Like the place where I work, the street where I work, the rents are so high that you basically can't run a business. So there's like 4 or 5 buildings there that aren't even very nice buildings. And there's tons of people that worked downtown to support businesses, but because of the rent, they're just shuttered up. So that portion of Main Street in Salt Lake just looks like total dump. So you can get an outside bar there from that bounce. I think I already overstayed my welcome on this trade. Should have taken it there. The treasuries continue to look strong.
Gary Rich says I met Nancy Pelosi one time and she treated me like a Chinese waiter and ordered me get her a drink. Dianne Feinstein did the same to me in the military.
Oh, really? I'm told that some of those people are real a-holes. I was watching. I told you guys about this, but we didn't really talk about it. But I ordered the movie Trading Places so that I could watch it. And first of all, that movie would never get made today. Okay, it's got Dan Aykroyd in blackface, but there's like all of these scenes at the beginning where like Dan Aykroyd is they plant money on him, and so they say somebody here has stolen it. But they're in like this exclusive club that is made for the bank or some some institution of something. And like the hall that they're in is just like gorgeous. And I'm sure that it is actually some really famous building and that you don't just have like a normal private club in there and they're playing it up.
Uzi Knesset
But
says yeah, it is.
I'm like, are there people that really live like this?
Uzi Knesset says the green carpet and shit.
The green carpet and shit. Yeah, it was like this amazing hall. I'm like, I don't really think that there's a place where that's built like that and people just use it for their casual private club. I don't think it works that way. I'm pretty sure that building was built for like a really serious financial.
Gary Rich says the last 10 minutes of that movie is awesome.
Yeah, so
Uzi Knesset says the Lions Club, I think it was named.
yeah, I think it must be like the trading part of it where they're actually on the trading floor is cool, and I haven't seen that in any other movie. But I thought that the overall script was weak.
Sunday Driver says what movie?
Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. It just bothered me that I guess it bothered me that Dan Aykroyd turns into a complete loser. Like the character development in the show is awful because Eddie Murphy.
Winston's mom says the end. Looking good, Billy Ray. Feeling good, Lewis. Clinking glasses.
The Eddie Murphy becomes this master trader, master strategist trader with no effort. Right? It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. It takes a really hard, long time and a lot of experience to be able to.
Says Jamie Lee Curtis in that movie. Drooling face.
Yeah. And then that's the other annoying thing is that they get set up this pretty okay thing going between Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis, but then Dan Aykroyd doesn't grow at all.
RJ Wheels says it did with Vinny.
It's like, where's the real character development?
Luis Alarid says the boobs is the best part.
The boobs. Yeah,
Uzi Knesset says index pointing up.
I think that it was one of those movies back in, what was this, the early 90s that wanted to be rated R.
Liberals watch movies like that and think it's reality. They think anyone can do those things.
Right? See, it would have been more interesting if Eddie Murphy had to learn to become a good trader and he failed a couple of times, but eventually he figured it out and got good at it. And meanwhile, Dan Aykroyd, he had
RJ
some.
Wheels says 80s. Early.
Yeah. Oh, it was the early 80s.
Gary Rich says someone calculated the payoff of their trade in that movie. It was in the millions.
Oh yeah. Well, the price swing that they were talking about was probably unrealistic, huh? Anyways, and then Dan Aykroyd, he would be depressed at first, but would overcome his depression and then go and start trading and make himself a new fortune. See, that would have been a better movie. And then Eddie Murphy stays the president of the company, and Dan Aykroyd creates his own firm. Something like that. I don't know. I didn't like the way that it went. It was like an okay premise at the beginning, but as it went on, I was like, this actually wasn't a very good movie. Hey, what is it on Rotten Tomatoes? Let's go look.
Winston's mom says Jamie Lee Curtis, by the way, food and rent aren't the only things around here that cost money. You sleep on the couch. Gary Rich says sold for $4.00, bought it back for 29 cents. Yeah,
was
baby.
1983. What did it get? It got an 87? I didn't think it was that good. I would rate it like a 60.
Uzi Knesset says 87% critic score. Surprising given the blackface.
Well, but that was 1983, dude. Back in 1983, I guess they didn't see any problem with it. Wow. Seem to be making the same mistake.
Uzi Knesset says yeah, but I'd think the revisionists would have gone back and zero, D it out lol.
Oh, The thing that surprised me.
RJ Wheel says Governor Ralph loved it.
Sunday Driver says really, what is wrong with blackface? It's crazy. No one can have fun anymore.
I don't know. It looks stupid. I don't get it. I don't get why anybody would ever want to do it in the first place, but I don't understand the history behind why it's
Winston's
considered.
mom says based on Michael Lewis' best-selling book about eccentric investors who predicted the demise of the U.S. subprime mortgage market and bet against an increasingly shaky financial system.
I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, so the thing that surprised me about the movie was like I got it as a Blu-ray, and it was like a really well done, professionally done Blu-ray, and I'm like, I can't believe that they put that much money into into making this movie available so much later. It was kind of, oh, you know what else I watched? This isn't a trading movie, but I watched oh, they gonna go down again. What is it called? Demolition Man. You know, I didn't, when I was watching it on streaming and it was like actually like a good quality video rip, I was like, hey, this is great. So I had only watched it on TV. And I was actually surprised at how professionally
Gary
done of
Rich
a
says
movie it
my
was.
favorite all-time movie is Wall Street, the best dialogue and character study.
Oh yeah, I should watch. I haven't seen the
Uzi
original
Knesset
one.
says that movie predicted the future and no one saw it coming lol.
Oh my gosh, that is so. This scene.
Winston's mom says The Big Short asterisk.
Yeah,
Sunday Driver says anyone watch Snatch? Great
I've
movie.
never heard of that.
RJ Wheel says it's a good one Gary. Greed is good.
Where was it that I picked that up? That there were, oh yeah, in Trading Places, they were like, you're so greedy, and he was like, is that a compliment? Are you complimenting me? No. That scene in sorry, in Demolition Man, where they try to apprehend the guy, and they're like, you know, they ask the computer what to do, and they say, you know, ask him to get on the ground and put his hands on his head, and he didn't respond well, so they say it in a more firm term, you know, tone of voice and stuff. Is so funny to watch now. It's really, it's like, guys, when you are nice to criminals, that doesn't necessarily just start make criminals being nice. The people that are truly going to be lawless are just going to be more brazen. And it's just so funny how some people just don't understand that. Margin Call, I have that one on my list, but I think that it got taken off of Netflix, Margin Call.
RJ Wheel says it disturbs Oliver Stone that people come up to him and tell him he changed their life with Wall Street. He was trying to make the opposite. Gary Rich says at RJ you need a friend buy a dog. Lol.
I was on Netflix and I was watching a documentary that was about American politics. It was supposed to be like, you know, stuff in American politics that you don't normally hear. And then it started and it was Oliver Stone's voice, and I'm like, oh yes, this is a liberal hit piece, isn't it? I'm not watching this one. He is not right. And so like, I tell you what. So one of his movies, I mean, he makes controversial movies anyways, right? Like, he was the one that made the video about that JFK assassination wasn't real and all that stuff, right? And he was the one that made what was it, Gangs of New York, and almost everything in that movie is bullshit. Like, they make it out like that this is a historically accurate movie. No, not even close. Was not even close to what it was like with that.
Winston's mom says Sergeant John Spartan, so much for the seashells. RJ Wheel says the big large phone scene on the beach is iconic now of the time.
Sunday Driver says Bonfire of the Vanities was good.
It really, and the whole thing, one of the so the thing that stood out the most to me when I was watching Demolition Man is they're in the car, and Sylvester Stallone is pretty, you know, uptight.
RJ Wheel says no one should treat movies as history except for JFK.
And so they're like, hey, maybe if we listen to some oldies and you'll hear some stuff that you recognize and that'll make you happier. And so they turn on this radio station, and it's the most popular radio station, and it's old television commercial jingles.
Gary Rich says, Seth, on Netflix
Oh, I
watch
do
the
watch
series
that.
Dirty Money. It's great.
I've watched
You will
like
get an
3
eye-opening
episodes
reality.
of that. I've watched like 3 episodes of that. Does it get better? The first episode was pretty good. One on Wells Fargo was like, I thought they did such a good job of explaining what happened with that one. Anyways, they use vapid commercialism to brainwash the people. I was like, wow, the people that made this movie were thinking. It wasn't, I thought it was just a silly thing that just kind of happened. No, they were
Sunday
really,
Driver says 90% of what I watch is from YouTube. Lol.
they were really trying to make some political points there, and they made them very effective. And here now, that movie was made in 1993, 20 years
Gary
later.
Rich says the HSBC scandal and Valiant Pharma great.
Okay, I should watch it deeper into it. You know, were you the one that recommended that I watch Trial by Media? I thought that was so good. I was completely engrossed through that whole series. And it told some news. The thing that I liked about it is that I've been in on, what are the big media stories, and I watch them play out, and I see the patterns in them, including with court cases. But this series showed me some of these things that happened like before I was born that people don't talk about anymore, but were really significant and actually have contributed significantly to today's culture, these court cases. And it's like everybody's forgotten about them. Oh, I thought it was like a really useful history. The Hill, Justin Trump warns protesters ahead of Tulsa rally. That tweet that he made about Tulsa, that's gonna cause some. I bet you that if we go on Reddit, they're all freaking out about it right now. Let's go see.
RJ Wheel says Simpson event was a seismic one for the media. Winston's mom says Bilbo Baggins, I'm going on an adventure. Rip Ian Holm. British actor Ian Holm has died at the age of 88.
Reddit is
Gary
not
Rich
as fast
says
as it
politics
used to be.
is downstream from culture. Mantra made famous by Andrew Breitbart Rip.
Yeah. Reddit is not as fast as they used to be. It's not as interesting as it used to be either. I'm getting bored with Reddit lately. Wow. That last downtrend was pretty weak. So far, I have to say
Luis
it's not really
Alarid
moving,
says
is
never
it?
used Reddit. What is it?
You've never used Reddit? It's a social news site, basically. That I wasn't able to take profits on that one. It's very unfortunate. But I can very much see the setup here, and I don't want to be caught on the wrong
Luis
side.
Alarid says gold rising. Gary Rich says do you guys use Quora?
No. Do people regularly use Quora? I thought that was just one that people use like when Google sends them to it. Ah, dang. Bad spot.
Michael Muse says is 3,148 a possible target still?
Well, I don't know where you got that number from. Let's go look at what my targets are. We haven't gotten to the point where it's really worth even thinking about for me. I see above us 3170 actually, and 3112 below. Wow, 3170 seems so far away.
Michael Muse says great. Gary Rich says I meant Quora as a resource. Lots of info there, lots.
Yeah, there it is. I don't think that people like browse it though. It's like Stack Overflow, right? Great website. Love Stack Overflow. I was in the beta for Stack Overflow. I was like, so thinking back on that, I'm like, wow, I feel so privileged that I was active enough.
Luis Alarid says Arnold Schwarzenegger backs California face mask order. Anyone making it a political issue is an absolute moron.
There's a lot of complaining here in Utah. People aren't wearing the masks. I'm definitely off sync with this market because you notice that like literally as soon as I get in that's when it starts being difficult.
Luis Alarid says got that from Reddit.
Yeah, well, Reddit has become a liberal echo chamber because they basically have been trying to chase all of the conservatives off the website. And it's some of the stuff that you see posted on Reddit is like really crazy. So it used to be in the beginning that one of the things that made Reddit unique and that made it worth it is you could go and you could make a sub community on there, and that you were allowed to make any kind of sub community that you wanted. So you got all of these really bizarre
Sunday Driver says Reddit is going to die.
Bizarre special interest groups, right? So like you can have a communist group on Reddit, right? That's what made it unique. Well, what happened was all of the far right subreddits basically were considered too violent or against terms of service, and all of the liberal ones were allowed to continue to do what they are doing. Some of them did get hit, like I think that El Chapo or Chapo Trap House or whatever it was did get shut down. I think they were the most crazy ones, but it's still like late stage capitalism, for instance, is still going, right? And so there was a very much intentional, because when it used to be that it was Dig, and what was happening on Dig was in Obama's presidency, Obama basically won the nomination in part because of the social media push that was centered from Dig. And the conservatives realized what was going on and said, well, we need to develop a bigger presence on Dig. So they started doing it and they started being successful. And the administrators were like, well, we're not going to like throttle people or anything like that. But Reddit, on the other hand, was totally willing to go along with that. On Reddit, we will just allow subreddits, and you can administrate your subreddit any way that you want. So if you want to ban all of the conservatives, then you can do that. And so they moved over to Reddit, and that's where Reddit started to take over from Dig, and then Kevin Rose made a couple of mistakes and Dig disappeared. now you've gotten on Reddit, all of these conservatives are still like, well, we need to create a presence. So finally they figured out the set of rules and everything that they needed to do to make a big splash over there. And then, they made the splash on the last election. And so they realized it. And so Reddit came in and kind of clamped down on it again. So you got this situation on Reddit now where the commenting on political issues is just like, then so many of the regular Reddit users are starting to catch on to it and are like, you guys are like really like absolutely crazy, right? It's quite a sad thing to see the decline of it, because I used to really enjoy the website, but it's like nobody says anything insightful or fun out on the website anymore. It's just total drivel now.
Gary Rich says USD yen is getting ready to turn upward. 106.15 is the bottom of the range. When this occurs, just watch it.
Well, I can see the same kind of a setup in the treasuries where they might want to come back down to this 17 area. But the E-mini is having a really hard time.
Sunday Driver
supporting
says
a
what's
bid
relevant
here.
about that at Gary Rich?
Well, if the yen takes a dive down, then it means that sorry, he's saying up, but on my chart it's down. Then that could mean some risk on sentiment is coming into the market. And you can kind of see it in the treasury they're set up. They've pulled back really hard and they're balanced here. So they might try and come back to where the bid was at 17. And the E-mini looks like they've formed a higher low, right? They're not quite pushing the upside of it yet. They're probably going to stop me out first. But like I said earlier, I've been
Gary Rich
really
says
off
yen
kilter
is the
with the
funding
market.
currency. It's the old carry trade and interest rate differentials. The implied volatility in FX are off the charts high historically.
So even on that, short trade didn't really, I mean, I caught some good move off of it, but then it came completely back. So if I went short, then that would be where it turns.
Sunday Driver says I think I'm going to become an underwear model and get rich on YouTube.
Why would that? It's probably not the easiest way to become rich on YouTube. Somebody did not want that to follow through.
Gary Rich says Bloomberg broke news about people speculating in HK dollar options to the downside. Oh my.
Will the market break out higher? According to Nomura, it depends on this one thing. I'm having some issues with my browser today. It's being a little slow. One group of investors remains stubbornly out of the market. We're talking about large institutions, including parity risk funds and CTAs, confirming this muted sentiment. Nomura writes overnight that factor trends in the US and DM equities indicate that risk appetite is more muted now than it was in early June, or as he puts it, to some extent, investors appear to have gone back to selling value, buying momentum, and buying a low volume fall. Falling back into familiar pattern ruts, these trends would give the surface appearance of a market becoming progressively more risk off. Well, look at that. That's a nope. Oh, shit. Seems like I don't know. I mean, it has been a downtrend so far, but you notice that most of my calls have just kind of been random shots in the dark and haven't turned out very well. Some of these, well, did get a little bit. See, what's happening to me right now is that we're in a mostly random market and I'm not getting my targets, and so I just end up taking loser after loser. But we could fall down. I mean, yesterday's high, 31.20, is probably a good target. Okay. Sorry about that. That was my USB thing flipping on me. California coronavirus cases rise 4,317 versus 4,084 yesterday. Or we're about the time where we should get like the big fast move down, huh? From like Florida and Texas numbers. Excuse me. Mm-mm. Financial Times updating this thing about that the new outbreak in Beijing probably originated from Europe. Of course, you know why they're making a big deal out of that, right? Man. So we were pretty chatty earlier in the day, and now I'm like a little more focused on what's going on, and I just feel so tired. I feel so tired. Hmm. And the treasuries are continuing to hold a pretty solid bid right now. I guess the 10-year is offering, but because of that big old one at 220, 22 half.
Luis Alarid says gold trade doing well.
So gold moving up still. Uh, Got that big order in the 30-year. Hmm. Okay. Okay. And they're kind of hidden in the low, but they didn't make a new low yet. Cat Turd asks, is Joe Biden still hiding in his basement? Whoa. It must have been one of those reports. That sucks. Fucking sucks, guys. Holy shit. Florida cases rise 3.4 versus previous day average 3.2. It's worse than the average, but they move up, huh?
Sunday Driver says I told you guys that gold is the trade for the next few years. $5,000 gold coming.
I don't know about 5,000, but okay. The thing is, as for day trading, gold hasn't been super great lately. I bet you on a longer term basis, it's probably going to be great. But right now, day trading it, I don't know. Well, it's doing okay today. There's some points earlier in the week, though, that were probably very frustrating. An expensive steroid dexamethasone is the first drug to reduce deaths from COVID-19, says First Walk. Well, Marketeer says gold volatility, a cheaper way to play a possible breakout in gold. That might be one you're interested in on Sunday. Bloomberg is wrong. It's a 4.4% increase, says FX Macro. Well, if that is the case, I think that we should go down here. Damn it. It's okay. I already have 2 contracts on. It's fine. Did someone just get carried out in S&P 500 futures asks zero hedge? March contract. In the final 5 seconds of trading ahead of the expiry of the March futures contract, the S&P 500 exploded over 30 points higher on notable volume. As we suspect, some options market makers' algo went wild in its last-ditch effort to minimize its pin pain.
Gary Rich says for all the gold
This is not
haters,
evident
click
in
and
any other
download the extended
contracts.
version munch on the 356 pages. It's good.
Good new low. Wow, how's it able to recover that so fast? Yep, now Forex Live is correcting at 4.4 versus a 7-day average of 3.2.
Ace Trades says howdy.
Sunday Driver
Yes.
says I've always been a gold bug. I love the physical. I have pounds and pounds of gold and silver physical. Lol.
So just to reiterate, what happened there was we had the Florida cases came through, and the number was pretty close to what the average was. But Bloomberg reported the news wrong. All of the squawks got it wrong, and now they are correcting it. It was 4.4 versus a 7-day average of 3.2.
Ace Trades says at Sunday Driver, where do you keep your gold and are there guns in the house?
And when they corrected it, they moved down a little bit there, and we front ran it. But then there was absorption down at the 22 area. I would still see the downside target being yesterday's high at 31.20. But they're having a hard time holding this down. Look at this.
Sunday Driver says at ACE Trades I have a big safe that is screwed into the wall. I have a pea shooter or 2. No one knows I have this much physical in the house. Lol. Never telling anyone about that.
Oh, you're talking about gold. There's an odd assortment of large bids and offers at every point or so. in the micro. Oh my gosh, my birds. What the
Sunday
hell?
Driver says at
Going back
Speculator says day
downstairs.
trading physical gold and silver.
Ace Trades says at Sunday Driver asterisk running IP address check in the background, large map with target on it, many NSA agents running around a darkened room.
Come on, fill me. Good grief. Frustrating as heck. That was a good turn down.
Sunday Driver says I'm VPN. They'll be looking for me in Los Angeles. Lol.
So first thing, I maybe they'll come down to me, but already you're seeing like some kind of really slippery moves that come back so quickly.
Ace Trades says at Sunday Driver seriously, good for you, if that makes you happy. Do you worry that shiny metal will be hard to eat if the economy collapses?
Oh man, I just love it. He's never afraid to give. He's just like me, never afraid to give anybody shit.
Sunday Driver says I pay my taxes on everything. I just don't ever sell my physical.
There you go.
Gary Rich says all the unboxing videos of metals peeps on YouTube. I think yes I know where to pillage and rob first. I come armed also.
Man.
Ace Trades says at Gary Rich yeah, I don't need a good supply in the house, I have neighbors who do. JB says the gold could be in his bunker with a 2-year supply of food.
Sunday Driver says it's really cool, actually. Looking at big stacks of gold and silver.
I have a gold coin. Dang.
Ace Trades says at Sunday Driver nice, you ever do a Scrooge McDuck?
Yeah, the funny thing is that my plan for the day, I think I generally was able to predict what was going to happen, but I have not been able to execute it on it at all. It's just, it'll move and it's like it's too fast. It comes right back.
Sunday Driver says ha, ha, I'm
The
actually very
euro is
generous. No one
moving
I care about has any needs I don't help with.
Ace Trades says at JB yeah, taking up room that could be used for ammo or first aid stuff, lol.
What is happening to the euro? Why is the euro getting killed like that? trying to flip has not worked out at all today, has it? Could have held on.
Gary Rich says at Sunday Gold member Gold. Austin Powers in Da House. Ace Trades says I like being prepared, but I don't think one needs to plan on the zombie apocalypse, but earthquakes, job loss, things like that.
Sunday Driver says no one, I expect, will pay a visit to where I live. It's very diverse. My zip code is 90% black. Lol. I'm totally not what you'd expect where I live. Ha ha
Really?
ha.
Really? Interesting. Look at that. Well, that was a total head fake, man. I feel dumb.
Gary Rich says just have a shotgun with slugs and double buck. Blast through walls as questions later. Oops, sorry neighbors.
No. See this? Am I just being too impatient? I think on this one, yes, because I could have gotten 25. It doesn't go. Right there on the edge. Not going. A few hitting into 31, 21, 50. But not really. Okay, there it goes. Now a few people puking.
Ace Trades says at Sunday Driver Saajan. Got it.
Somebody's messing with the book. Look at this. Order at 31.22. Hit him. Hit him. Yeah. Faker. What is going on in the currency space?
Sunday Driver says I do plan on moving soon. I think diversity is going to be the end of me the way things are going. Idaho actually sounds good.
Idaho?
Gary Rich says I store my gold at the local crack house. Them ladies are not allowed clothing, can't smuggle without clothes on.
There you go. Well, I tell you what. Sure is choppy. I've had so many good trades that they just come right back on you, man. It's really hard environment. I would have to have my targets already out and know. And I'm the larger targets
Ace
aren't
Trades
being
says
hit.
it's Sunday Driver, Idaho, full of spuds and white supremacists.
No. People in Idaho probably never, most of them probably never seen a black man in their lives. This is one of the things that I find the most interesting about that is that it seems like that you really don't get racists when they haven't actually seen other races. It's when they live in close proximity that you get it.
Gary Rich says Montana looks interesting, even if the supervolcano does occur.
Super volcano. Almost forgot about that whole thing. Hmm.
Sunday Driver says at ACE Trades that doesn't sound too bad, actually. Where I am now, most people hate me. I'm harassed often. A change of pace might be what I need. I like spuds, and white supremacists don't hate me.
They don't. You're okay with it as long as they don't hate you, huh? Well, the question is, what you do for work, or what do you do during the day that you're gonna want to do? Because there's not a whole lot out there. Funny thing is I even take profits along the way on some of those, and I
Sunday
can't.
Driver says gold up 20.
This may actually like truly flip though. Let's see. Crazy moves in the euro on the London fix, says Forex Live. Oh, what is going on over there? I don't know. It looks like the euro kind of dropped pretty good, but then came back. Oh, oops. I didn't need to click that twice. Okay, so we have gotten like more of a flip than any of these other trades since basically the open. So this does look like a real reversal, but it's still kind of the spot where it might just turn back down around. So okay. World Health Organization head says pandemic is accelerating, virus still expanding fast. I don't know, guys. Something does seem to be going on under the surface here, but in the E-mini, it's just a complete mess. Seeing a decent amount of contracts trading now in the E-mini. Yeah, we're trading 300s a lot. Huh. Can you believe that I can even get 4 positive ticks on that? Nothing news-wise, yeah. As kind of what I expected, but I thought that I would at least be able to pick up on some of these oscillations, but it's just moving too, like this is now they're gonna move up finally. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board on choppy action.
Gary Rich says nothing news-wise to move these markets. Dull day. Gary Rich says oil expected move 10.6%, not.
You already said that. It is turning up now. My wife is up early. How is she awake still? Huh. Well, I don't know if what I'm seeing in the tape really matters, but you see them making a little push and then they collapse. The CFTC spec positions will be arriving soon today. Oh, what time? I thought that didn't come until like the end of the day. Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of this is just robots, huh? I mean, we're trading 200s, 300s, but it's still slow and churny and wiggling around a ton. Look at my range chart down in the lower right. Hardly any real trends. When you do get one, it's extremely short-lived. $400 there at 31.2625. Well, I haven't gotten any clicks lately. Trudeau firm action behind the scenes with China on detentions. Okay. Feds Rosengreen, the commercial real estate sector has been significantly impacted by the pandemic. Wait, what did Joe Biden say? You ought to marry into a family of 5 or more sisters. You know, that's the reason. One of them always loves you. Well, this looks like this is falling apart. There's some real volume on the break this time. So that might be like a real break of support. So I'm going to let this ride a little bit. What the hell? Okay. Can you hear my baby? He's like, he's grumpy about something. He like very rarely will like outright cry. He will always do this little sort of a thing. Man, I could have gotten it into that so much earlier. We should be careful because even though there was good volume on the drop, it they could come back above it, right? Right, just like that, and bounce it. Could be a fake breakout. Look at all the bubbles I got now. Well, the bouncing right back above 3120 is a little bit of a red flag. Not a red flag, like maybe a yellow flag. Canada won't interview in Huawei CFO case. I wonder if that's what was kind of the move. That's weird. Civil emergency curfew declared ahead of Tulsa Trump rally? No. GDP nowcast, maybe? Negative 19.03 versus previous negative 25.9. Coronavirus pandemic will last longer than people thought, says Fed's Rosengreen. Hmm. Treasury's just been a strong trend bid all day. It would be a really boring trade, but it would have worked. It wouldn't have come back on you very much. A little disappointed just because even though I said that we were going to have a difficult day, it's just not going the way. I'm just not, yeah. Like I've caught some good trades and then I'm not able to actually capitalize on them because it comes back so quickly. And I'm not sure what to do about that. But it's just a little frustrating. But this is why, like, when we get into these kinds of periods, is like, I always have a hard time, so shouldn't be too worried. Well, that was a little bit of a sell there. Got about 4 minutes, and then I'm gonna have to shut it down. Wonder if if one of those pieces of news was what was moving it there, because it just sure seemed like the floor just fell out from underneath of them. A lot of people went short there. They took profits quickly, but well, I don't really see any comments. So I guess we'll just shut it down. Next week might be a lot more of this. So I think I have a few ideas we can look at to try and deal with this. May have to involve, though, just not taking a whole lot. Okay. Enough moping around. I will see you guys next week on Monday. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.